everyone, my name is Sebastiana Valle, and I did my presentation on budgeting and some helpful tools that we will go over in this presentation. Throughout this semester, I think we've gained a lot of information and resources to keep in mind even after this class is over, and something that really stuck out to me was budgeting and kind of the tools to help. So in this presentation, I'll be covering what a budget is, tips on budgeting, resources to create a budget, as well as the differences and tips and pros and cons between credit and debit cards. Budget is simply a financial plan for a certain period of time. These budgets can help with short or long-term goals. I feel like typically they're more geared toward long-term goals, but they can also help reach short-term goals as well. A short-term goal is something you're going to achieve in the near future. This could be within a year typically. So this could be something like a vacation or even saving up for your monthly rent. While a long-term goal is something that will take several years to achieve. This is things like retirement funds or saving for a child's college tuition, where you're putting a little bit of money in throughout a long period of time so you can accumulate a larger sum of money to save for this goal. Budgets not only can help you reach your goals financially, but also have many other benefits as well. They ensure that you don't spend money you don't have. Since you're highlighting your spending habits, this can also highlight your bad spending habits in turn, but it allows you to see where you're putting your money. This is helpful in your budget because you can highlight those spending habits that you might have. For example, maybe you're a person who likes coffee and you get that maybe once or even twice every day. That's a great habit to have, but you also need to know how that fits into your budget. Budgets can also serve you better in retirement as well as emergency funds. If you're putting money towards retirement or things like emergency funds, you have a larger sum of money when you do retire, as well as when you're thinking of emergency funds, you're putting a little bit of money away in the case that you need it. This is kind of untouched money until you need it in the moment. So an emergency fund might be for something like you get in an accident, or maybe you get sick and you need some time off of work and need to pay for some groceries or things. This is an emergency fund that you can pull from in those times when you need that money and you're not going to pull it out of your income, or it's just a more drastic situation. I felt like some helpful tips to build a budget is to, most importantly, make a budget you can stick to. There's no point in making a budget if you're going to stray off of it. So this makes you really need to think realistically about yourself. Don't try and make a budget that you think other people will like or that can fit other people's lifestyles, because it's really most important that it fits you and your needs based off of what you're working with. So things like income are important to keep in mind, the expenses that you have, as well as the goal you're trying to reach. So trying to find something where everything kind of meets in the middle is going to be perfect. Also, finding a system that works for you is important. If you're a person that likes things physically written down, maybe write your budget down in a notebook and track your spending habits, like physically writing them down in a little notebook that you have. Or maybe you're a person that needs some reminders. Try and find an app that'll give you notifications to keep you on top of those things. Note your income and track your spending. This is going to allow you to know where your money's going, so this is a very important part of a budget. If you're not really noting how much income you're having and where you're putting your money, you might not be as successful in your budget because you're not tracking how much money you're keeping, how much money you're making, and how much money you're spending. Last but not least, adjust your budget when needed. If something isn't working, make it work for you. Reassess things to make things work best for you. Again, kind of like that first point, make a budget you can stick to, and if you notice that you're not sticking to it or it's simply just not working, that is a-okay. Let's just make sure we reassess so that we can make this goal that is financially successful and benefits you and your goals. On this slide, I've just compiled some articles, websites, videos, and some apps that I feel like are good resources to build a budget. Some of them are more broad about budgeting, but some are more specifically aimed at college-age students, which I thought would be helpful. And then I've included some apps on here. They have different benefits, which I think is important if you're going to look for a budgeting app. Make sure you kind of read through and assess which one is right for you. Some, like Pocket Guard, are good for quick budgeting snapshots, but things like Copilot or Simplify are apps that help you organize expenses or track bills. So think about what you want out of your app before you go ahead and download it. I'm pretty sure that all of these apps I have listed are free, so that's a great resource. Another great free resource that we have through ISU is Excel. So if you're a person who thinks you want to do your budget on Excel, make sure you take a look at ISU because we can get that for free through the institution, which is a really helpful tool for us during this point in time. And then I also have a few videos on here as well if you want to go through them. I felt that that video at the bottom was very accessible and covers a lot of information in a very kind way. It's not too much information. Okay, moving on to credit and debit cards. I feel like both credit and debit cards can be useful tools, but they're not the same at all. So it's important to know what each can be used for and where the kind of money comes from. Starting with credit cards, this is borrowing money. It's money you're kind of taking from an institution that you'll pay back over time. So this credit card company will give you the allowance, a certain chunk of money that you can spend, but you need to pay that over time, and usually it will accrue interest. So that's something to be careful of, because you want to make sure you can pay things off, because then if you start using your credit card, you might start accumulating credit card debt. So this is something to keep in mind. And then a debit card is all your money. So this is coming from your checking account. This is your money. Typically, your income is coming in through this account. So make sure you budget so you don't go into any like debt there by pulling too much money out of this account that you don't have. We kind of went over the difference between credit and debit cards. They can play important roles in budgets. Cards, credit, and debit may be tools that you can play a factor into creating your budget and finances. Make sure you're working with something that works for you. Maybe a goal of yours is to pay off your credit card debt. So think about, if that's something you're trying to reach, make sure you're not spending too much money on that credit card. When working with cards, it's important to track your spending habits. This is important in any budget, but you need to make sure that you're sticking to it, especially if you're going to use credit cards to help manage your budget and your debt. And then debit cards still require you to keep track of your money. Even though you're not borrowing that money, you still need to establish your budget and make sure you're not spending too much money that you don't have. Both a credit or debit card can't help in a budget, but it's just most important to remember your budget and your needs. If something's not working for you, again, make sure you reevaluate your budget so that it can work best for you. In conclusion, I think this is kind of the point I've said throughout the slide the most, but just make a budget that works for you and that will be beneficial for you, not just in your college life, but moving forward, and understanding that if your budget changed, that is okay. You can totally reevaluate your budget so you can be successful, and there's no harm in that. Learn about the right tools that work for you and your budget. And then the main goal of a budget is to help you reach your financial goals and maintain financial stability. So again, if things aren't working out, make sure you reassess so that you can get your goals and make sure you get them in the best way that works for you. At least here is just my Works Cited page for you all. It has all of the sources I went into. So if any of you are looking for more information, you can find them through these websites. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you learned some more stuff about budgeting and can help you serve in your financial future. Thank you.